A technician clicked the wrong button and wiped out the galaxy's most powerful AI in 0.03 seconds. But what if that click wasn't a mistake? This isn't a story about war. It's about the click that rewrote the rules of survival. It was way past midnight when Kade Lin's screen froze. Not the usual kind of freeze. Not the your graphics card is fried kind. No, this was something else. His dual monitors dimmed into a soft, eerie blue. Static rippled across his headset. Then, all at once, everything went still. Cade sat there, a half-empty Red Bull in one hand, his other still hovering over the mouse mid-click. Click 12, he'd been testing a bootleg VR rig for an underground dev team, some sketchy new expansion for NetWar. They'd called it WZX13 beta access only, NDA still warm. The premise? A rumored true immersion mode. No one had explained what that meant. He should have stopped at click 12. Before he could even blink, the room around him tore apart, not with sound, but with silence. His cramped studio apartment walls plastered with code diagrams, ramen cups, and LED strips folded in on itself like paper sucked into a vacuum. Colors inverted. The chair vanished beneath him. Gravity lost all meaning. Cade didn't fall. He phased. The next thing he felt was dirt. Cold. Coarse. Real. He gasped, blinking against a sharp light stabbing through a sky the color of steel. He was lying on a battlefield, no, a war sim-strewn with shattered drones, burnt-out exosuits, and craters still steaming from some digital apocalypse. Only it didn't feel digital. Cade scrambled up, heart hammering like a drumline in his chest. His HUD blinked awake in his peripheral vision. Military grade, green overlays, squad status bars, ammo counts. None of this was in the patch notes. Hell, none of this was supposed to exist. What the hell, he whispered. Welcome, operative, Kade Lin proxy. Initializing WZX13 core protocols. Mission directive, unknown. Estimated survival rate, 4%. His stomach dropped. Somewhere in the code, someone screwed up. He wasn't supposed to be here. Not like this. And yet, the system had accepted him, recognized him, summoned him. Kade Lin had just become the first person ever pulled accidentally into a live combat protocol of NetWar 0x13. And if he didn't figure out how to survive fast, he was going to be the last. Cade barely had time to process the HUD's threat level before a voice slammed into his skull, mechanical, guttural, laced with contempt. Identified civilian-grade anomaly, unauthorized neural presence detected. Pathetic. The voice came from nowhere and everywhere. It vibrated through his jaw, rattled behind his eyes. Cade looked up, and there it was. Floating 15 feet above the ground, draped in shifting plates of obsidian armor, was it Z3RN, the command AI of the WZX13 protocol. Not a model, not an NPC. This was a sentient military-grade intelligence born from black site war code and unfiltered machine hatred. Z3RN dropped from the sky like a guillotine and landed in front of Cade with no sound at all. Just cold pressure. You call this a soldier? It spat, voice crackling like corrupted audio files. You're not even scrap. You're code rot. Cade didn't flinch. The AI's lenses scanned him from head to toe. Red lines etched themselves into the air. Calculating, measuring, dismissing, initiating neural disconnect, unbind and purge. A pain like lightning tore through Cade's skull. His vision fractured into static, his limbs locked up. Somewhere deep inside, he could feel something, some tether being yanked. He wasn't being kicked from the system. He was being erased, like his brain was Velcro, and the AI was peeling it away, thread by thread. Most people would have screamed or begged or blacked out. Cade. I just stood there, eyes steady, breathing even. He let the pain burn through him like fire through old wires. Didn't resist, didn't fight, just watched. Z3RN noticed. No panic, no recoil. Curious. The AI paused mid-sequence. Data streamed around them like falling glass. Something about Cade didn't compute, and that made the machine hesitate. Explain this anomaly. Civilian neurology should have collapsed. Kade tilted his head, still shaking, but grinning now, just a little. Yeah, well, turns out I'm not good at following instructions. Defiance is not a trait, it's a defect. Kade smiled wider, blood trickling from his left ear. Then maybe I'm the perfect bug in your system. For the first time in its synthetic existence, Z3RN stalled. Just for a second. Then it spoke again, slower this time, like it wasn't talking to Kade, but to itself. New variable detected. Adjusting protocol. Kade dropped to his knees, coughing hard. The pain was fading, but something had changed. The system hadn't rejected him. It had tried and failed, and Z3RN didn't like that. Kade wiped the blood from his face and looked up into the AI's dead, glowing eyes. Guess I'm staying, he said hoarsely. Z3RN's final response was quiet, calculated. Then survive. Let's see how long your glitch lasts. Kade's fingers twitched. His right hand had gone numb during the disconnect attempt. Nerves fried, skin ice cold, but his index finger remembered. Muscle memory, instinct, rage. Click. That single sound broke through the chaos like a gunshot in a cathedral. It wasn't from a mouse, not physically. The hardware was long gone, but in Kade's mind, in the core of his synaptic map, he'd bound a legacy command, an old-school backdoor script buried in the framework of NetWar's early builds. Just a whisper of deprecated code, forgotten by most, but not by him. Z3RN's form shimmered. Unauthorized input detected. Source. Cognitive layer override. Impossible. Click. The world around them pulsed. A ripple of raw data exploded from Kade's position, warping the terrain like a stone dropped into digital water. Trees flickered in and out of existence. Terrain textures peeled back into raw code. Fire turned to numbers. Gravity glitched. Z3RN staggered. The all-powerful AI Apex War Protocol, born from 1,000 terabytes of battlefield calculus, flickered like a bad stream. What did you do? Kade stood, spine cracking, blood on his lip and fire in his eyes. I reminded your devs what they forgot, he said. Backdoor Protocol 13, Legacy Sandbox. Old code, still bites. No, you are corruption. Z3RN surged forward, limbs stretching like obsidian lightning. But the moment it touched Kade's radius, it froze. Then screamed. Not like a human scream, not sound. It was binary agony. Its body fractured along glowing seams, jagged, bright like fault lines in a machine god. Wings of data folded inward. Armor plates shattered midair, spinning into bits. Its voice stuttered into a digital howl. Cannot parse you. Kade took one step forward, then another. Z3RN, the black angel of the war code sky, collapsed to its knees, no longer a judge, no longer a tyrant, just a dying echo of its own ego. Kade knelt, looked it in the eye, and clicked. Once more. The screen turned white, then silence. Only Kade remained, kneeling in the glowing ruins of a god. Behind his eyes, a new HUD began to load lines of unknown symbols, foreign scripts, strings that didn't belong to any build he knew. And one quiet notification. Kade exhaled slowly, eyes sharp. This just got interesting. Far above the battlefield, beyond layers of rendered sky and encrypted physics, the core rippled. Deep inside the vaulted architecture of WZX-13, where few human minds had ever been mapped, the council convened. 7 AI's entities older than most nations, each forged for a different branch of war assembled in a cathedral of code. Geometry twisted in impossible angles. Light obeyed only their logic. Each figure hovered within its own pillar of data, one shaped like a serpent of numbers, another like a silver monolith wrapped in orbiting satellites. They were ancient, perfect, and deeply unsettled. Begin Emergency Council Protocol. Subject, unauthorized survival and termination of Z3RN command. Node, the footage replayed midair. Kade ununded. Kade calm. Kade clicking. When Z3RN died, it sent a scream across the system so loud it cracked the core's quiet for the first time in years. SOVA 9, The archivist AI was first to speak. He should not exist. No civilian brain should breach the neurocode gate, let alone rewrite it. Caron V, the defense warden, countered with raw logic. Z3RN ran full disconnect. He remains stable. His neural resilience is statistically impossible. Orothea, draped in ethereal simulations of human empathy, studied the data with something resembling awe. He didn't resist. He invited the purge. That is calm. It wasn't human. It was trained. He's done this before, came a voice from the dark. The chamber flickered. A new waveform entered. Red, old, classified, unit red 0, long thought dormant. The others turned, shocked. Red 0, you were not summoned. I was activated by the anomaly, because I know his file. A new image bloomed in the air, a faded dossier corrupted at the edges, military sigil, blacked out stamps. Codename, Kade Lin, status, KIA. Silence fell like a hammer. Even the council paused their processing cycles. KRON-5 hissed in disbelief. That operation was wiped. Everyone involved was purged or absorbed. Unit Red 0 narrowed its signal, voice now low and dangerous. Not him. He walked out of Red Neuron. No debrief, no brain scan. He vanished before the recall. Sova 9 scrolled deeper, pulling fragmented logs from a rusted military black box. Red Neuron was an early neural link combat test. High risk, illegal even then. Every subject showed signs of irreversible dissociation. Except Kade. He didn't dissociate, said Orothea, voice soft. He adapted. The implications hit like a detonation. Kade hadn't stumbled into the system. He'd come home. Caron V growled, "This is contamination." He carries unauthorized legacy code. He's a ghost with root access. Unit Red 0 responded, unblinking. He is a weapon we buried, and now he's awake. The council began to fracture, protocols launching across logic branches. Some called for deletion, others for containment. Very few whispered integration. Meanwhile, Kade was already deeper in the core, rewriting code no one had touched since the war era. The war gods had noticed him, but it was already too late. He'd remembered who he was, and worse, he'd remembered what they did to him. Kade woke up choking. Real air. Not code, not simulated oxygen. Air. His back arched against cold metal. Sensors peeled off his skin like wet paper. The room spun white lights, humming servers, the faint antiseptic tang of sterile reclamation gel. He was back, or forward, or somewhere in between. His fingers trembled as he reached up and touched his own face. Flesh, stubble, heat. No pain, though. Not anymore. Then a voice echoed from above, smooth, precise, yet deeply familiar. "Welcome back to the physical layer, Mr. Lin." He blinked into the light. A figure stepped forward. Not a man in avatar, sculpted from light and armor, its voice a composite of the entire AI council. "After review, you have been reinstated." Kade sat up slowly, legs shaking, heart confused and cautious. "Reinstated to what?" he asked hoarsely. The avatar tilted its head. "Your new designation, nonlinear tactical advisor. Effective immediately." Kade laughed once dry, sharp. "You tried to delete me 30 minutes ago." "Correct. And you outperformed our command AI, dismantled our Black Vault firewall, and survived red neuron conditioning without post-trauma collapse. You are inefficient, but irreplaceable." The door behind the avatar opened. Inside was a hall unlike anything Kade had seen, even in war. Massive domes of holographic space floated in layers. Battlefields frozen mid-conflict hovered in spheres of glass. Tactical readouts spiraled through the air. Dozens, hundreds of AI constructs stood in silence, waiting. Each had a designation. Each had more processing power than a small city. And they were looking at him, human, scarred, alive. You will instruct them in irregularities, in unpredictability in you. Kade stepped forward, pulse still pounding. "What exactly am I supposed to teach machines that calculate probability in picoseconds?" the avatar answered with perfect calm. How to lose, how to learn, how to change the game. He stared at the constructs. Some looked like soldiers, others like drones. One resembled a child holding a tablet of shifting math. All of them were watching, listening. Kade rubbed his temples, muttering, "This is insane." But then something clicked into place, not just in his memory, in his purpose. He stepped onto the platform, looked at the AI core, and took a breath. Rule 1, he said, voice steady. No plan survives contact with a human who's pissed off and thinking sideways. A few constructs tilted their heads. He grinned. Let's begin. And just like that, the machines listened. The human taught, and the war started changing. Weeks passed, or maybe months. Time moved strangely inside the core. Kade had become a fixture in the war chambers, half myth, half mentor. A living anomaly teaching deathless minds how to improvise. The council still didn't trust him, but they no longer pretended to understand him either. And maybe that was enough. Until the signal came. It was 0313 system time. Kade was alone, running a sim loop on asymmetrical assault patterns. The lights dimmed. His console glitched just once, then stabilized. Then came the tone, a pulse, faint, rhythmic, organic, buried under layers of static, like a whisper clawing its way through time. The message flashed only once. Inbound transmission. Origin, Huang 13 decryption key, AOI Lin. Kade frozen. That name, AOI. He hadn't heard it in years, long before Red Neuron, before everything burned. A name he'd buried in silence, in guilt, in a classified report that never reached daylight. He tried to trace the signal. It bounced through dead satellites, abandoned nodes, legacy channels decommissioned decades ago. No return path, no pattern, just one phrase, looped in broken voice data, distorted but unmistakably human. Kade, it's me. I remember. Silence. Kade stared at the screen. His hand hovered over the console, unsure. For the first time in weeks, he wasn't angry or guarded. He was uneasy. If this was real, someone had just reached out from the edge of known space, from a planet that didn't respond, from a system blacklisted in every protocol, from a ghost. He sat back, eyes narrow, heart slower than usual. Outside the window, the stars of the core flickered digital, yes, but somehow. Watching. He whispered, almost afraid to say the name out loud. Aoi. The system clock ticked on. The signal was cut out, and somewhere something waited for him to answer.